Ready? I've even started, she's laughing already. David Cinelli here, Realtor with Royal LePage Signature with
Ariana and I, also Realtor with Royal LePage Signature.
For another Fast Talk Friday.
We're back.
We're back. Back in action. Okay, today we're talking about investment properties.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about what you should look for, what a cap rate is, and whether or not it's a bad thing if you're cash flow negative with your property.
Yeah, so for your financial planners out there, don't jump down our throats. I have a really good buddy of mine, his name's Jason Pereira, he's also my financial planner. And he always laughs at me how many people buy investment properties without pulling out a calculator and actually calculating. Because most investors are looking to make money. Right? But there's different ways of making money, right? There's a couple things you want to look at. Is one is your cash flow, which means money at the end of the month. Are you making money on your investment, or do you have to keep putting cash out? Another way you can make money on is the investment is the equity building.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also some people that we know that want to potentially lose money because maybe they needed to have some negatives on their balance statement. That's what we're saying about that. So you're saying about cap rate on my explanation, like, do you know what a cap rate is, or how can you explain that? I'm putting it on the spot. Let's see if
so a cap rate is a percentage that usually investors look at, but even as a purchaser for a residential home, it's a good number to look at just to kind of see what the return on your investment would be. So you take the operating income and subtract
net
operating income and subtract any expenses.
So you take your your net operating income, and what it is you take your income from the work, so let's say on a yearly basis, and you subtract all of your expenses, but you don't include your mortgage. Because, for example, if Ariana and I both wanted to buy an investment property, say we're both competing for the same property, you might have a different mortgage than I have. So in order to have the cap rate kind of like standardized, we take out the mortgage rate.
Yeah. And
we just want to look at the net operating income. And from there,
we divide it by the purchase price.
And that gives you the rate. Now, in this kind of a market, if you're looking at a 2 or 3% cap rate, chances are your cash flow is going to be negative, believe it or not. Back when my dad started investing, he would only do a 10% cap rate or he wouldn't look at it. Nowadays, if you find a 10% cap rate, you're like rich. It's like, holy crap. Yeah, especially in Toronto. Here in Toronto, right? Ideally, I'm finding more of the 3.5% to, if you're lucky, 4 or 5%. 5% is still really good here, which a lot of times if you're getting a 5% cap rate, you're getting cash. So when I was saying the other way, I was looking at building your equity. So even if you're in a cash negative position, some people feel that's okay. Mm-hmm. What are the pitfalls of that? What if I'm thinking like, oh, it's okay, my property, like why would people want to take a cash flow negative if they're not just on the balance sheet a negative?
Well, it could affect your taxes. Some people are looking for a negative return to help out with their taxes, but it could be a good thing if you can afford to do that. But let's say there's a slowdown in the market, like we're pretty fortunate with the market here right now, but things can change and the value of your property might not be going up as quickly as you had hoped for. So that's something that you need to be prepared for as well.
Yeah, so one of the things Jason and I would talk about in the past, it's like the fallacy we had in the past was that, the Toronto real estate market's always going up. Well, there's been some blips, and then if, for example, like last year in 2020, if you're holding a condo, the price dropped and you sold, you're done.
You're
done. Yeah. So the one thing that I would say is if you're looking for an investment property, know what you want. Look at your cash flows, look at what your investment, what is your end goal? And the second thing I always tell my clients, you always have to have a long-term view on an investment property. If you're looking to flip, all that kind of stuff too, that's really risky, and I would never suggest anybody doing that unless you have the cash or the cojones to do it, because you might be left holding the bag.
Yeah, and your cash flow, as Dave mentioned, it is going to also depend on what you put into the property initially, right? Your down payment, how much you want to put up front, how much money you want to tie into the property, all of that matters.
Yeah. So it's not enough to just look at somebody, don't just take somebody's advice like you heard, like, oh, my Uncle Bob, same thing with investment properties, told me to buy, this stock, and you just go put your money. No, whatever investment property you're doing, whatever investment you're doing, do some of your own research. And obviously, a lot rely on the experts, like us. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. Thanks, Ariana.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, ciao.
See you.